Hey there, guys. Jodonar here. I've decided to get a wild hair today. I wanted to start recording and getting into the streaming zone and all that kind of stuff. It's something I've always wanted to get into, and I was never really quite sure where to start. So I asked around, and people just said, stream what you enjoy doing, record what you enjoy doing, and what you know a little bit about. So that's what we are here doing today. Uh, as you see, it's not modern WoW. It's not the latest and greatest. Now, I'm no cheapskate when it comes to WoW. Like, I've I've been I've been with them. I've been with Blizzard a good while. I hell, I have Legion bot. Like, the point is, I put my money into Blizzard. Okay, it was a money sink for me for a long time. And frankly, I'm not happy with the direction the game has gone. I just have a huge distaste for it. In fact, this server, I donate to it every now and then because I appreciate them hosting a server where I can actually enjoy the game. Now, let's see. Uh, so, the topic for today's video is what I enjoy doing in the game. Now, being on a laid back server like this, I'm not so pressured to live up to anyone else's expectations or anything. I can just be me. I can do what I want. I can do what I like. Uh, Granted, I get laughed at sometimes. People call me, stupid and things like that. But I like to push the envelope of what classes can actually do. So my main overarching goal is taking every class that can generate a good amount of threat or specialization and turn it into some kind of tank. It can be an off tank, it can be a main tank, it can be just a trash mob tank. I'm going to push the envelope and see how far I can get each of these different, what would normally be a healer or DPS or whatever. I'll push those to their limits and see what I can actually accomplish with them as far as tanking goes. Now, it's a bit strange. People are probably asking, but why? And frankly, I don't like playing DPS. DPS is boring to me. I don't like standing around spamming 2 or 3 buttons trying to make it to the top of a damage chart. Healing, I'm too good at healing. I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I have a brother and some friends. They needed help learning the game, needed help getting into end game, and no matter how rough things got, no matter uh, how heavily damaged they got, my healing could pull them through pretty much anything. And that's because restoration shamans and druids in this expansion are way overpowered. So I like healing, I love healing, I'm good at it, but it's boring to me because I've mastered that. It's very simple, it's very easy, there's no challenge to it. It makes me go to sleep. I've literally fallen asleep at the keyboard mid-raid. I've done it a few times actually. If anyone out there on the server knows me and remembers me for that, I apologize again. But yeah, healing puts me to sleep. Now tanking, you're out there in the action. You're controlling the fight a little more. You feel like you're the one playing the game. You're not just a support character. You're not just a secondary character. You know, the world kind of revolves around the tank a little bit. And for the point of fun, for the point of action, that's what I want to try and do with all these different classes and roles. So I have a few project characters started up at the moment. One of them is known as the servers only Shaman Tank. Now, if you have any memory for Wrath of the Lich King, you'll know that Shamans have basically no threat generation, at least if they want to be able to parry, because the same talent that gives the ability to parry reduces the Shaman's threat by 30%. 30%. Were it not for that, it would be a breeze, it would be easy. But instead, I don't want to give up the ability to parry, because if you rely too much on one kind of damage mitigation or avoidance, that's when the diminishing returns start really kicking your butt. And for those who don't know, diminishing returns are basically your character can only dodge, parry, or block a certain number of times within a small amount of time frame. So if you got, like, for a good example, if you got like 10 mobs on you and they're all swinging at you, you're not going to be able to dodge every one of those hits. And it's not because you don't have the proper stats. It's not because you don't have like 50-60% dodge rating. You're still going to take a lot of damage because every time you get swung at, diminishing returns start adding up. Every time you dodge, a small little cooldown goes on that dodge. And for every time you dodge in a row, a longer cooldown gets put. And then it eventually caps out at a certain time frame and then resets the clock. It is a bit annoying, but I can see the purpose of it, at least for PvP. Then again, of course, you don't want hunters or rogues coming up in here and having like 80% dodge and just being able to solo stuff. Or do we? I don't know, that could be fun. But yeah, so Shamans, I'll have two main sources of threat. Frost Shock, which is literally in the description, it says generates a high amount of threat. So whenever I get good crits on that, I'm generating good amount of threat, and it works pretty good. And then I have Fire Nova, which is I like to put down Lava Totem, or Magma Totem, that's what it's called. It's the AoE Fire Totem. And then if I spam Fire Nova from that, that generates a lot of threat. That's on single target or multi-target. It generates a lot of threat. And then Maelstrom Weapon, you can use that to either, like if you get 5 stacks, you can either instantly cast Lightning or Chain Lightning. Or you can use it to instant cast Healing Wave. Well, after some digging, I found that healing generates more threat than raw damage. So I can spam my Frost Shock, keep it on cooldown. I can spam my Magma Totem and Fire Nova, and then I have Storm Strike, of course. Yeah, that's mixed in there to get the mana back. And I also have Water Shield on, so whenever I get hit, I recover mana. And then after that, I have I can spam Healing Wave on myself, or if I'm in a AoE situation, then I'll do chain lightning because that's more threat across multiple targets. Especially if they haven't targeted me yet for whatever reason, like say somebody ran ahead of me or pulled early. Then I can use that to kind of snatch some of that. My second project, and I apologize for all the talking. What I'm trying to do here is basically just an overview video. Okay, I'm trying to explain what I want the channel to be, and the different things you're going to be seeing me do. So my second project is a hunter tank. The sole purpose being is I found out from two reputable sources, Big Red Rhino and the World of Warcraft Huntsman's Lodge, or Huntsman's... World of Warcraft Hunters... I can't remember their name. You'll hear me mention it a dozen times whenever I go recording the hunter tank. But those two reputable sources, there were guilds specifically geared towards hunters. Big Red Rhino specifically tries to make hunters into tanks. And with their research combined, and I have mostly confirmed that to be true, I found out that you can use resilience to make your pet immune to critical hits. You can stack stamina, get all the stamina perks, and make them have an insane amount of HP. But once again, the issue comes back around to threat. Now, if you're a biz hunter, you are generating a lot of damage. You are generating a lot of threat just by using volley. This Wrath Lich King, so volley actually still exists. Volley is basically an AoE similar to Blizzard, but it uses arrows instead of ice shards. So if you use Misdirect and then you use Volley, then you have a hellstorm of threat going straight to whatever target you chose to misdirect your threat to. If you choose your pet and you have your pet using AoEs and growl, all that necessary stuff to keep his threat up just by himself, combined with your misdirect, he generally has the threat he needs. Now, me, I'm still gearing up my hunter. I'm still trying to get him to that point. Survival is not so much an issue, and here's why. Pets, they get, I believe it's 50% or 60% extra healing due to Beastmaster talents. So if you are able to convince a healer to come and heal your pet, then they're not going to have to work hard at it at all, especially if they have a druid or a disciplined priest, because the hots are going to be ridiculous. They're going to be healing 6,000, 7,000 per tick rather than the usual 2,000 or 3,000. So you have all this overhealing going on for this hunter's pet. So as long as that hunter's pet can actually keep the threat, and the healer has some idea of how to basically heal, then it should be no problem. I'm still currently trying to get enough stamina and hit rating on him. I didn't think that would be such a hard thing to do, but I'll give you an idea of how it is. I'm having to use a blend of PvP and PvE gear. I have enough to give him the resilience that he needs. Although I'm still working with testing to see if he gets critically hit. In fact, I'll make a video specifically testing just that, so we can confirm or deny whether the resilience transfers to the pet correctly. But it should work out okay. But the gear is going to be a little bit of trouble for a little while. and I want to make videos of myself improving on that. And that brings us to my current project you see in front of you, the Unholy Tank. Uh, Unholy Death Knights, back in Wrath of the Lich King, they certainly could tank. This is proof of it. Uh, but of course, just standing around with the menus open, showing his stats is not proof enough. We are certainly going to be uh, running heroics and such, grinding some emblems, getting things like that. if nothing else, at least the daily heroic. Now, a lot of players, they say Frost is better, Blood is better, but I find that when I go through the old talents, when I go through these old talent trees here, Unholy actually has more damage mitigation than the other two. And not to mention, there's so much threat generation AoE wise, it can technically leave Frost in the dust. Frost is very good at preventing just physical damage. Okay? However, Unholy, it prevents all sources of damage, plus an extra 6% versus magic damage. And that's not including, all the extra boosts you get to your anti-magic shell. It's not including anti-magic zone, which I do have those, just, I'm talking about baseline here. But anywho, my next video is going to be a demonstration of Unholy tanking. A lot of people try and say that Unholy tanking is garbage. They say it's stupid to use it. I find that I prefer it. It's easier to play. It's enjoyable to play. It's a lot more engaging than the other two specs to me. Now, I'm going to go over the base stats here just real quick. I've got a good bit of physical damage reduction just based off armor. I have 551 defense. With the other two specs, I find that if you have 540, you have no problem. 540 was the soft cap. However, I did find that I had a little bit of trouble in Unholy before I increased the defense rating to 550. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the math works on that, but I will say that that when I play the other specs, I have no problem with like being crit and such. But I did find that even though I hit the soft cap on this one, I still got crit somehow. And that happened a few times before I, just stopped everything and said, well, maybe there's some kind of bug, maybe there's some kind of wrong calculation or something. So I added on 10 more, technically 11, but the one is an accident. And I'm not having any trouble with it anymore. So I can understand if it was a miscalculation in this patch that maybe drove some people to thinking, oh, Unholy is trash because it doesn't have as much damage prevention. Well, if you're actually getting crit still, even though you hit the soft cap, then yeah, you're gonna think Unholy is trash. But, let me tell you, I went and I got this fixed, and it works fine for me. But anyway, this is what I'm doing. This is an overview, an idea of what I'm going to be doing with the channel. I really hope you guys like it, or at least learn a thing or two about it. Now, the server I play on, I'm going to do a quick shout out, is Warmane.com. It's definitely a fun place to go. They've got experience, reputation, and profession, and loot boosted server, Ice Crown. As you see, it's the most popular. Or if you aren't so much for the Care Bear style, if you're not so much wanting uh, the easy life per se, they got the Lordaeron server. It is the hardcore server. Bosses' HPs are increased, their base damage is increased. Uh, all the rates are times one. You know, just regular plain up vanilla. But the game is harder. The game is absolutely harder. And in my casual opinion, I didn't think it needed to be harder, but you had a you have a lot of players who think, yeah, I could do with the extra challenge. You know, good on them. They have mastered the game. They want to move on to something bigger and better. Now they do have a Burning Crusade server and a Miss Pandaria server, but I see not many people enjoy that Miss Pandaria server. I played on it for a good bit. Um, it works fine. When it first came out a few years back, it was extremely buggy. Phasing did not work good. Uh, it was a rough time. But I did come back and I tried it again later, and I found that it wasn't the bugs that drove me away this time around. This time around, it was just I hated Miss Pandaria. Now, there was one specific Warlock setup I did like, but one small class setup is not enough to redeem an entire game for me. So I just said, screw Miss Pandaria. I don't want to play there. Uh, I made a character on the BC servers. Of course, uh, it's not buggy at all. It's just fine. Everything's fine on the BC server. All the BC contents in on the Wrath servers are up and kicking well. Is good. They're good. Um, However, for me, Burning Crusade never really felt like it had much of an ending. Meanwhile, when you get to Wrath of the Lich King, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King basically feels like the end of the game. You know, you're working up to defeating the largest threat to Azeroth, which was and always has been the Scourge, at least from what we knew at the time. Sure, the Burning Crusade was a big deal. Sure, Sargeras, all the beings on Antorus, Gil, uh, Gil'jaden, all those were big threats too. But uh, it just kind of pales in comparison. It's like you have this huge undead army, people are dying all the time, they can get infected, plagued, brought back to life by the Lich King. The Lich King can bring back your best heroes as his own undead slaves. It just, that thought, it's it's a little more daunting than, oh, here's some demons from outer space. Uh, they're burny, they're fiery. It's very similar to what you fought in Molten Core, but instead of red fire, it's green fire. But that's enough of that from me. Uh, I am very opinionated. Uh, I'll go ahead and say that right now. So, if strong opinions, things you enjoy are, or if strong opinions are not a thing you enjoy, then you probably don't want to watch, and that's okay. Yeah. But anyway, I appreciate y'all for listening. If you made it this far, I did ramble a good bit, but eh, it's a thing. It's a video. All right. Well, thank y'all very much. I will catch y'all in the next video. The next video, I'm likely going to be uh, just continuing where I'm leaving off right here. I'm gonna probably gonna go right over there into one of these, do them on heroic, show you a little bit of the life of a unholy tank. And I will catch you next time. Thank you.